Die JSE ondersoek die wesenlike beweging in verskeie genoteerde sekuriteite toe Pravin Gordhan, voormalige minister van Finansies, uit Londen teruggeroep is. Hanna Ziady van Business sluit nou by my aan as ons die ondersoek bespreek. Hallo Hanna.
Hi, Deur.
Hanna, let's go back to the basics. When you talk about certain trades happening, what exactly happens and why was it so suspicious?
So trading simply means that people buy and sell stocks mostly, which are effectively companies that are listed on the Johannesburg Securities Exchange. There's other things you can buy and sell too, like bonds, derivatives, currencies. The reason they were suspicious is because there were large moves in the specifically selling of stocks ahead of the recall of the finance minister and in the days subsequent, and also around the cabinet reshuffle. So the JSE does monitor these things on a routine basis.
But it should be easy, because if I want to trade, I have to be registered with the JSE, so you should be able to pinpoint, oh, it's Divan that actually sold some shares. In this case, it's not that easy.
It's not that simple. So in the case of shares, yes, all of them go through the JSE, and the JSE can see with the broker who made the trade. The more difficult area is around currency trading, specifically rand dollar trades. Per day, $51 billion worth of rand is traded. And the problem with that is that a lot of it happens off the JSE on what we call over-the-counter exchanges. And the JSE doesn't have sight of that. And the size of rand dollar currency futures, which all a currency future is a contract to exchange one currency for another on a future specified date at today's price. So you lock in the price today, make a contract to exchange it. Currency futures are mostly traded off the JSE. The trade in currency futures is much larger off the JSE. So they wouldn't have oversight of that. The FSB could have sight of that, but again, in my understanding, you would probably have to get a court order to see who actually made the trade, because a lot of this goes through banks. There's client confidentiality agreements in place, so very difficult to track currency trade.
So you've mentioned millions of shares trade hands, and even more so in the currency market. How will the JSE actually know that it's a suspicious trade? What's the flag?
Yes. So the JSE monitors trading every single day. As you say, I think on average last year, 252 million shares traded per day on the JSE. When a share moves more than 5%, the JSE system will flag, and it will have a look. Is there a plausible explanation for this? Were there financial results? Was there an announcement on the stock exchange news service that maybe caused the share to move? If they, however, think, oh no, hang on, there's no plausible explanation for why the share moved so much, they will then look into, could this be a case of insider trading? All insider trading is when somebody has certain inside information that would move the price of a share were it to be made public.
Yes.
And if they trade on that information before it's made public, it's known as insider trading.
So in this case, it would have been someone knowing that the minister is going to be recalled. Either somebody incredibly close to those that make the decision, or close to the person that's just going to make the decision. But my question is, the JSE, they're not a regulator, so they now give it over to the FSB. Right. What's the next steps?
They do. They give it over to the Directorate of Market Abuse at the Financial Services Board. They will then, the FSB will then look into the trades more carefully. It is very difficult to prove insider trading. I think since 1999, which is roughly when the Insider Trading Act came into being, there have been 5 criminal prosecutions for insider trading, about 300 investigations. It's just so hard to prove, though, because how do you know that, there's so many areas in the value chain, let's say, that where the information could have leaked, and how can you prove that somebody had inside information or was just using their smarts, and other public information, publicly available information, which is what analysts do. They use perception, they read, they analyze. How do you know that it wasn't based on public information? So,
but I assume the JSE will have to tread quite lightly over this, or carefully, if you can say it like that, because they also don't want to be seen as targeting a specific family in this case, or a specific business. I think that's important. But why should people be worried about this?
Because it compromises the integrity of the market, ultimately. And, in the case of, you mentioned a family, a company, Oak Bay Investments, which is, as we know, a Gupta-owned company, was trading in their shares was suspended actually at the end of March, because the JSE said that they felt that there was some market abuse going on. And all this does is that it's unfair. You know, it's an unfair playing field. If somebody has information before somebody else and uses that information to their own advantage, it's unfair for the public when, you know, this information needs to be released at a certain date. And it also contributes, I think, in the long run to distrust and mistrust of the financial services industry, of the stock exchange, and ultimately we want more South Africans to invest on the stock exchange because it's a great way to grow wealth. And very few South Africans invest directly. They may invest through their pension fund. So it creates this kind of mistrust, which is not good in the long run.
And I can't wait for us to find out what the findings are, and I'm sure we're going to get you on the show when they are. Thank you so much.
Awesome.